Hey there, you guys. It's been a little bit. So, yeah. So I just kind of want to go through real quick. This video might be a bit of a doozy in terms of length because I have so much to wrap up for the end of the year since I haven't made a video in 4 months. Oops. Although you guys are probably used to that by now with how I've always been. So, basically, life got insane. Summer ended, and I started directing my show. We had my mom ended up injuring herself, and so that kind of a lot happened in the last 4 months that caused me not to be able to read very much, and also not have the energy to read because I had been at rehearsal or at work or doing something else at school, something like that. And I just didn't have the time to read, so I would watch YouTube videos or watch Netflix or something that just took less brain power, I guess, technically. And so, yeah, that's what I did. And I also just didn't have time to make videos because I wasn't reading. So I was like, well, there's no point in doing that if I can't talk about anything. So the few things I want to go through right now of what has kind of, in terms of what I'm wrapping up, I'm going to go through the books that I read. Most of these I read in September and October. I think some of them even I read in August. Because I don't think I've done a video since then either. I don't think so. I want to go through a lot of the movies that I've seen recently. Not necessarily in theaters, but just overall. TV shows go along with that. And then, yeah, that's kind of it. So we're just going to jump right into things. Again, I'm still on my phone, so editing wise doesn't really happen, but I'm going to try and keep it going so that there's not lots of long pauses or anything like that. I kind of made sure I made a good plan on my computer, which is why I'll be looking down here, reading off of that so that I kind of know where to go from there. So starting off, I only read 5 books in the span between August and now. It's kind of insane. So, of those 5 books, 2 of them were new reads, which also sucks, but at the same time, you know. So the first book that I finished was Winter by Marissa Meyer. It was such a good end to the series. I can't believe it took me so long to get into this book and get into the series and all that stuff. But yeah, so it was really nice. Again, I think I was talking about this before, that I was listening to the series mainly on audiobook. The narrator just did such a good job of voicing and creating different things, creating different settings and tones to the scenes and everything, that I just felt like by the time I got to this one, first off, I didn't have the mental capacity to actually sit down and read a book. I just didn't have the brain power to do that. Excuse me. And I also just didn't feel like I could do justice reading it. I knew reading it, like listening to it on audiobook, would have been the best decision. Then after that, I finished Delirium. I think I had talked about the fact that I was like a quarter of the way through it or something like that back in July, August timeframe, but I finished it. It was really, really good. I want to get to Requiem and Pandemonium, I think, are the 2 sequels, and then there are a couple of novellas that I want to get to soon, but I'm still kind of partially on my book buying ban. I just don't have the desire to buy books because I want to read the books that are on my shelf. It's not strict like I was a few years ago or so, but I just don't really want to get the rest of these books because I'll probably listen to them on audiobook anyway, because again, it was nice listening to these, but still I want to be able to buy that later down the road. And then the next 2 were The Battle of the Labyrinth and The Last Olympian by Rick Riordan. So the 4th and 5th book in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. So I'm officially done with this portion of my Rick Riordan reread. I will talk more about this in my reading goals for the year, as well as my January TBR video. I'll talk a little bit more about my plans for continuing the reread in 2020, and then it will probably end up also bleeding into 2021. But I'll talk about that more in the next video, because this one is already going to be so long with everything else that has to be talked about. And then I also have kind of, alongside that reread, started rereading the graphic novel series, as well as reading them for the first time, because the only ones I have read are the first 2 books in this series, and then I believe I've read both Lost Hero and Red Pyramid in those graphic novels. I might have also read Son of Neptune, I don't know. But so I'm starting this kind of reread kind of alongside it, just because they're a nice little break, getting a little bit of a graphic novel, and they're done very well. So I'm kind of doing these alongside, and so that I have a little bit of a little relaxation, breath of fresh air thing. So now moving on to movies that I have seen in the last 4 months-ish. So first of all, the only movie I've seen in theaters in the last 4 months was Frozen 2. It was great sequel. Yeah, that's all I'm really gonna talk about that. But with the release of Disney Plus back in November, I've watched a lot of Disney Plus. It's been a nice thing to have on the background and all that stuff. But with the launch of Disney Plus, I am doing this kind of, it's not even a rewatch, because 90% of these movies I've never seen. But I'm doing a watch through of every single Disney movie ever released, starting with Snow White, back in the mid-30s. So this is not, I'm not in any way holding myself to any sort of time constraint. It's kind of like, oh, I'm bored, I'll put on the next movie in order. And doing it sort of that way. And it's been fun so far. It's really, the reasoning behind why I want to do it is I'm such a Disney fan in general, and I want to kind of go through and like see where Disney started and the evolution of their content and their movies and all that sort of stuff. Because they, oh man, there's some dust floating around my room, so my allergies are ugh. But with, back in the day, they did things differently. Like the animation style obviously was different, which we've all seen. But they did more live action films and stories based off of like life, true events and things like that that aren't watched nowadays. Ew. Oh, excuse me. But it's just, and those movies just aren't talked about, aren't watched and things like that. So I want to kind of go through and watch all those. And so I've watched, let's see how many I watched. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 movies. So they're all kind of chunked out by decade in a way. So I have not finished the 40s yet. I have like 3 or 4 movies left in the 40s. But so far I have watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, Fantasia, The Reluctant Dragon, Dumbo, Bambi, Saludos Amigos, and Victory Through Air Power. If you guys would like me to talk about kind of my ratings and my thoughts on those movies, I would love to do that, and I might do a separate video of that in like a month or 2 once I've watched more movies. Because honestly, I'm rating most of them pretty low. I'm doing it out of 5 stars rating, and they're not all doing very well right now just because they don't hold up. And I'm watching them for plot and storyline and animation and all those things that just, they were made back in the 30s and 40s, and they're not my cup of tea as well. Anyway, sorry, my camera or my phone did a little thing. So anyway, where was I? So yeah, Disney, I might do a separate video on that later down the road. We'll see. And then also with the release of Episode 9, Rise of Skywalker for Star Wars, I have yet to see it. I'm probably seeing it this weekend or sometime in the next week. I did a rewatch of all of Star Wars. So I started with Episode 1. I went in plot order, which I know is sometimes a dispute of do you go plot or release order. I went plot order because I felt like for myself I was going to be able to really watch it and take everything in. For the plot order, obviously I've seen everything before, but never like sat down and really watched. Every time it's kind of been like, oh, okay, yeah, we'll watch this today or whatever. So I started with Episode 1, went through 1, 2, 3. Then I did Solo and Rogue One, which was kind of a off-putting thing. Then I did 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I started Mandalorian last week, so, or a few days ago, whatever it was. And so now I'm going to finish Mandalorian and then I'm going to go see Rise of Skywalker. So that way I can kind of get that into my head. I watched a lot more movies than this. This is just the base level of like what I could definitely remember because I haven't been keeping track of, been doing a really good job of keeping track as I go. Then I also watched Christmas Day, did all the Christmas things, came in here, and was like, I'm gonna watch some Netflix Christmas movies because I think that'll be fun. So I watched The Night Before Christmas, which is the new Vanessa Hudgens Christmas movie that came out this year. And then I also watched the whole trilogy of A Christmas Prince. So Christmas Prince, The Royal Wedding, and then The Royal Baby. They were good. They were just kind of lighthearted, fun movies that I was like, oh, this is kind of cute. Christmas Day, fun, little, throw it on, and they were good. I mean, the first one's definitely was the normal rom-com holiday movie, and then the second and third one I felt had a little bit more plot, which was kind of nice to see them build on the world and the characters and things like that. But they're also not blockbuster movies. They're Netflix originals, so they're good, but I wouldn't have, had I paid to go to the theater watch it, it would have been different, you know? And then TV show wise, I was able to, I believe over the summer it was, get completely caught up on Arrow and Flash and DC Legends of Tomorrow, which are CW shows. Got caught up on those, and then was able to actually watch everything live this year, which was kind of fun. And I have never actually, well, not never, I haven't done that in a really long time. I'm normally a season behind, and then I just have to wait until they come out on Netflix because it's already been gone and it's been too long. So I watched the whole first part of The Flash, all of the first part of the season 8 of Arrow, which is the last season. The last there's 3 more episodes left. They start not next week, but the week after, I believe, and then it's 3 weeks, and then Arrow is done, which I'm sad, but I also know it's been around for 8 seasons, and it's time for the series to kind of be wrapping up and finishing up, and so that I get a good bow on the end, and then we're done. And then I also watched the whole first part of season 4 of Riverdale, and so CW always does the season break from like all of December. They're pretty much off, and they come back the second or third week in January. So there's a fall and a winter. Section of that. Also on Disney Plus, I watched the whole first season of The Imagineering Story, which was super, super cool to kind of see the starting and that baseline of how the Imagineers got started, the parks, the building, the the change of CEOs when Walt died, and then that whole elevation of that world was kind of cool to have a step into, because you really haven't ever seen that before until they made that documentary series. So that was kind of fun. I also have watched the first 8 episodes of Encore of season 1, which is the theater flashback thing where in 1992 this school did this show. Well, they're all going to come back together in 2019 and do the show again, which was super fun. And then I also watched the entirety of season 3 of The Crown, and then also rewatched the first and second season and rewatched the 3rd season for a second time. So that was kind of fun. I was on a Crown binge feel for a little while there. In addition to all of this, I also was able to see 7 different plays actually more than that, but those are the ones that are relevant, I guess. I don't know. 7 different plays this fall, because I was in a theater appreciation class. So we saw 6 shows with them, and then my friend was in a show as well that I went and saw. One of which was Sense and Sensibility in play form, which was really, really interesting and made me want to read the book. So I'll talk about it more later, but that's actually on my 2020 reading goals list. And overall the shows were good. I can do a video on those as well down the road if you guys would like me to. Other than that, they've come and gone, and I've talked about them enough in class and things like that. But yeah, so that is it for this video today, guys. I know this was kind of fast, but I didn't want to spend too much time on each individual thing, because I knew if I stopped and took time and spent that time kind of going through all of it, I would have been talking for a half hour, 45 minutes or so. So that's it for this video. I will see you guys all in my next video, whenever that ends up being. I do have plans to film 2 other videos right now, both my 2020 reading resolutions kind of video, as well as my January TBR video, and I'll go in more in depth about certain things in both of those videos. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys all in my next video. Bye!